It seems that because of the influence of the King of the Sea, Zoro and Kuina did not go to sea again during the next journey, and stayed on the ship honestly. After sailing for half an hour, a puff of black smoke caught Zoro's attention. Kuina, do you see what happened there? Zoro pointed his finger in the direction of the black smoke and motioned to Kuina to look. Following the direction of Zoro's fingers, Kuina put her hand on her eyes and took a look, then her brows suddenly wrinkled. It looks like a ship, Zoro. Moreover, there seems to be people walking around on the ship. It is very likely that some pirates are looting the passing ships. Kuina told Zoro what she saw. As for Zoro, his face suddenly changed when he heard that there was a pirate, and then he ran to Wuya and said, Master, it's not good, there is a pirate ahead of him robbing the ship. Let me see. Wuya got up from the chair and came to the bow of the ship. He glanced into the distance. There were pirates, and there were still a lot of people, like a dozen people. Master, what should we do now? Are we going to take action? Zoro asked Wuya. Do you want to shoot? Wuya asked Zoro. He didn't answer Zoro head on, but asked Zoro if he wanted to make a move, because in the future, Zoro will definitely encounter similar things, and these things need to be faced by Zoro himself. I want to shoot. Zoro said his thoughts. What about you, Kuina? Wuya asked Kuina. I want to. Kuina's answer is the same as Zoro. Since you want to, let's go take a look. Wuya smiled and said, then turned the direction of the boat and walked towards the smoke-emitting place. The place where the black smoke was coming was the ship that was ransacked by the pirates. 7 or 8 corpses were lying on the ground, and the blood stained the deck red. A dozen pirates stood on the deck. Each of these pirates carried a long knife with scarlet blood remaining on the knife edge. Please, don't kill us. On the deck, a middle-aged man knelt there, kowtowing to the pirates, and beside him were kneeling a middle-aged woman and a 16 or 17-year-old girl. The woman is the wife of the middle-aged man, and the young girl is his daughter. They are all passengers on this ship. They originally wanted to take a vacation to relax at sea, but they encountered pirates. Dozens of tourists on the ship were all killed by these pirates, and only 3 of them were still alive. But he knew that it was only a matter of time before they were killed, so the middle-aged man kept begging these pirates, hoping that these people would let them go. A one-eyed pirate knelt down and jokingly said to the middle-aged man, "Let you go. That's okay. But your wife and daughter have to let us enjoy it first." After finishing speaking, the one-eyed man stood up and said to the man behind him, "Baby, both of them." "Yes, boss." The 4 pirates came out and walked over with a smile on their faces. Then, regardless of the resistance of the mother and daughter, they dragged them aside and put their hands on them. The middle-aged man saw this scene. His face changed suddenly. He climbed in front of the one-eyed pirate, and kept kowtow. My wife can give it to you, but my daughter is only 16 years old, she is still a child. Go away." The one-eyed pirate became impatient and kicked the middle-aged man's chest directly, kicking him out. Then he looked at the middle-aged man's daughter, and walked over with an evil look. "Little beauty, let me take care of you, uncle." When he came to the girl's face, the middle-aged man became obsessed and grabbed the girl's leg. Just when he wanted to take the next move, 2 raps sounded behind him. "Stop." The people who came were Zoro and Kuina. After approaching the ship, they heard the movement inside, and then jumped onto the ship with the help of a shave. Wuya also came up, but he did not intervene, but stood by as a bystander. After all, this was the first time Zoro and Kuina had come into contact with this kind of thing, so he wanted to see how Zoro and Kuina deal with it. At the end of the deck, the lone wolf pirate turned and looked at Zoro and Kuina, then laughed. It turned out to be 2 little ghosts. Are the little ghosts so arrogant now? Also took care of their pirates. If you let them go, I can let you go. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. Kuina held the word hedao and shouted coldly at the one-eyed pirate. A girl film, the tone is not small, I want to see how you are not polite to us. The one-eyed man sneered and didn't see Zoro and Kuina in his eyes at all. In his opinion, where the 2 little ghosts could go. Kuina turned out to be completely unwilling to listen, and immediately swept the moonlight towards Zoro. "Let's do it together, Zoro." "It is good." Zoro nodded, took out the 3 knives from his waist, took one in each hand, and bit the other in his mouth. "Hello, boy, did you hit anyone with 3 knives? The one-eyed pirate suddenly laughed when he watched Zoro used 3 knives. He really is a sucker. Wait, will surprise you. Zoro snorted coldly, and then his feet slammed on the ground. Step. In an instant, there were afterimages in Zoro's body. And the moment Zoro rushed out, Kuina also shot, stepping on the shaved feet and galloping towards the pirates. The one-eyed pirate who had previously laughed at Zoro saw the speed at which Zoro and Kuina erupt, his face suddenly changed, and then he shouted at his men, "Stop them." At this moment, the one-eyed man also realized that these two people were not ordinary little ghosts at all. With the one-eyed pirate's order, the pirates standing on the deck rushed out with long knives, but they couldn't even touch the clothes of Kuina and Zoro. Kakuzu. Brush. 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 With a wave of the long knife, Zoro and Kuina swept past these people, but in an instant, the four pirates fell. Good. Lin Wuya looked at all of this and nodded in satisfaction. He originally thought that Zoro and Kuina would be merciful, but now it doesn't seem to be. This is what Lin Wuya wants to see. After all, if you treat the wicked with mercy, then you will be left with an extremely sinister situation. After all, the wicked will not show mercy to your men. What? The moment when the one-eyed pirate saw his hand, the two little ghosts had solved four of them, and his expression became even more panicked. How is this possible? These two little ghosts seem to be only 10 years old, how can they be so strong? In a hurry, he hurriedly said to his subordinates, "Stop using knives, use guns. No matter how fast these two little ghosts are, they will definitely not be able to avoid bullets." Hearing what the one-eyed pirate said, those subordinates suddenly pulled out the guns from their waists. As for Lin Wuya seeing these pirates picking up their guns and shooting them, he wanted to see how Zoro and Kuina would do in such a situation. Zoro. Get rid of their guns together, Kuina, who was galloping, said towards Zoro. Kuina knows very well that if they wait for them to pull out their guns, then their situation will be very difficult. After all, they still can't avoid bullets. Although the speed of shaving is fast, it is still weaker than the speed of bullets. It is good. Zoro nodded, and then rushed towards the pirates with 3 knives. The same is true for Kuina. Brush, brush, brush. The sharp knife light slashed through the hands of these pirates, and brought up blood swords, and knocked out all the guns in the hands of these pirates. After doing all this, Zoro and Kuina did not stop, and continued to attack the pirates. Bang. Bang. The remaining 7 or 8 pirates were all solved by Zoro and Kuina. Next to you. After solving all the pirates, Zoro and Kuina looked at the one-eyed pirate. The one-eyed pirate was obviously scared. He took a long knife and said with a look of fear, "You. Don't come here, I am a member of the Buggy pirates. If you kill me, our Captain Buggy will not let you go." Not far away, Lin Wuya, the one-eyed pirate, frowned suddenly after speaking. Captain Buggy? This group of pirates turned out to be Buggy's men? This is kind of interesting. It doesn't matter what you are, Buggy or not, Buggy, I still kill you. Zoro carried a long knife and walked to the one-eyed pirate, and wanted to cut it off with a single knife, but Lin Wuya came over and stopped him. Don't kill him yet. Zoro. Zoro stopped, and then looked at Lin Wuya with a puzzled look. What's the matter? To master. This guy keeps it useful. Lin Wuya smiled, then walked to the one-eyed pirate and asked, "You just said your captain is Buggy?" Yes. The one-eyed pirate thought Lin Wuya was jealous of Captain Buggy's reputation, so he lifted his chest and said, "We Captain Buggy is East Blue's premier pirate, so I advise you to leave me alone." East Blue's premier pirate. Lin Wuya smiled faintly, and immediately said to the one-eyed pirate, "Then you take me to meet the so-called East Blue #1 big pirate in your mouth. Speaking of which, I have grown so old, I haven't seen a great one yet." The pirate. Huh. The one-eyed pirate frowned. After learning that he was Captain Buggy's person, he still went to see Captain Buggy? But he didn't think much about it, on the contrary, it just happened to be what he wanted. If these guys get to Captain Buggy can definitely get rid of him. Thinking of this, a sneer suddenly appeared in his heart, and he immediately said to Lin Wuya, "Okay. I will take you to see our captain." On the side, the middle-aged man who was kicked out by the one-eyed pirate walked over and said to Lin Wuya, "Old sir, I am very grateful for you to save us this time, but Buggy is a very powerful pirate. If you come to him there, it's like a wolf entering a tiger's mouth." "It's okay. I have my own measures." Lin Wuya smiled at the middle-aged man, and then said to the one-eyed pirate, "Take me to see you." The one-eyed pirate nodded, and then took Lin Wuya, Zoro, and Kuina towards Orangetown, where Buggy was located. Orangetown is not very far away, it is only 50 nautical miles away. It took 2 hours, and Lin Wuya and the others have arrived. As soon as he entered Orangetown, the one-eyed pirate glanced at the 3 Lin Wuya disciples and grandsons behind him, sneered inwardly, Wait a minute to see how I can deal with you. Going all the way to Orange Town, the one-eyed pirate finally stopped at a castle with Lin Wuya, Kuina and Zoro. However, the one-eyed man did not continue to bring Lin Wuya in, and then said to the people of the Buggy pirate group around, "Come on, surround these guys." In between XUMI, 30 pirates rushed over and surrounded Lin Wuya, Kuina, and Zoro. "Old guy. Now you can't escape." The one-eyed pirate looked at Lin Wuya playfully. Zoro and Kuina looked at the 34 pirates who surrounded them, and their faces suddenly became angry. These guys are too despicable. In contrast, Lin Wuya has a calm face. "Don't worry. These guys dare not shoot us." After that, Lin Wuya raised his head and said to the one-eyed pirate, "What about the first big pirate in the East Blue, Captain Buggy?" "Huh. Don't worry, our Captain Buggy will be here soon. Then it will be the death of the three of you." The one-eyed pirate sneered. "Okay. Then I'll be here waiting for your Captain Buggy to come." Lin Wuya smiled. "You surround them, I'll go to Captain Buggy." After saying this, the one-eyed pirate went straight to the castle. Coming to the castle, the one-eyed pirate found Buggy and told Buggy what had happened before. "What? Our brother was killed." When Buggy heard this, a flash of anger suddenly appeared on his face. There was someone who killed him in East Blue. "Yes. Captain Buggy." The one-eyed pirate nodded and said, "The other brothers were all killed by the other brothers' methods, but I brought them. Now they are surrounded by our people. Now I'm waiting for Captain Buggy to speak. Take it over. I want to see what kind of guy it is, who dared to kill me." After speaking, Buggy walked out of the castle aggressively, followed by the one-eyed pirate. The one-eyed pirate is very excited at the moment. He knows that as long as Captain Buggy takes action, the two little ghosts and the old guy are definitely dead. After all, Captain Buggy is the #1 pirate in East Blue, and it is not easy to solve the two little ghosts and the old guy. Besides, Buggy came to the square after walking out of the castle, and then he asked the men on the square, "Where are the people?" "It's here. Captain Buggy." A pirate pointed to the circle they were surrounded by, then gave up a passage and let Captain Buggy walk over. Crossing the human wall, Buggy came inside, and then he looked at Lin Wuya, Kuina and Zoro. "You killed." However, as soon as the words were spoken, Buggy stopped immediately, and an angry face gradually became confounded at this moment. "Captain Buggy. What's wrong with you?" The one-eyed pirate noticed Buggy's strangeness and asked immediately. Buggy walked tremblingly in front of Lin Wuya, and the next scene left everyone present, including Cyclops, dumbfounded. I saw Buggy knelt directly in front of Lin Wuya. "Teacher." As soon as this remark came out, the audience was shocked. The 30 pirates and the one-eyed pirate who surrounded Lin Wuya, Kuina, and Zoro froze at this moment. "Teacher?" Captain Buggy actually called this old guy as a teacher. Similarly, Kuina and Zoro were stunned. This person actually called Master Tai as a teacher. At this moment, they couldn't help but think of what Master Tai said when they went to sea today, saying they wanted to meet Buggy, and the pirate in front of them was also called Buggy. Immediately, their hearts were shaken, and Buggy, the big pirate clown in East Blue, turned out to be a disciple of Master Tai. However, Zoro and Kuina knew that Buggy was Lin Wuya's disciple, but the members of the Buggy pirate group did not know that the one-eyed pirate was like this. When they heard Buggy called Lin Wuya as a teacher, he rushed over. "Captain Buggy, did you admit the wrong person?" Buggy slapped the one-eyed pirate directly, and then yelled, "Asshole, can I still recognize my teacher?" After speaking, Buggy turned around and looked at Lin Wuya. His face immediately turned into a pleasing expression. "Teacher. Why don't you tell me when you go down the mountain, so I can send someone to pick you up? If I told you, wouldn't I be able to see you doing good things?" Lin Wuya smiled faintly. Hearing what Lin Wuya said, Buggy's face suddenly changed, and then he said, "Old teacher, don't just think that I have done it because my subordinates have done something that hurts the world. I have been doing it all these years. Uphold your teachings and never do bad things." "Hee hee. I'll watch it as a teacher," Lin Wuya said without a smile, then looked at Zoro and Kuina beside him. "Zoro, Kuina, you two hang him up." "Yes. To master." Zoro and Kuina nodded, then found a rope, tied the Buggy, and then hung it upside down on a beam. "The whip is coming." Lin Wuya stretched out a hand. Zoro on the side handed a long whip to Lin Wuya's hand. "Teacher. Raise your hands high. I will never dare anymore." Buggy, who was hung from the beam, begged Lin Wuya. But Lin Wuya didn't change his face in the slightest. "Raise your hand high." Why didn't you think about raising your hand high when you do those things that hurt the world? After that, Lin Wuya directly swung the whip at Buggy. Buggy's face changed, and then his whole person was split into 2 quarters, and the whip passed through the gap of his split. It's okay for Buggy not to hide, but Lin Wuya gets even more angry when he hides. It's still split. After finishing speaking, Lin Wuya directly covered armament hockey with the long whip, and then grabbed Buggy's struggling lower body with one hand, and throbbed. I will split you. I will split you. This violent pumping was almost a whip to the flesh, and the one that Buggy pumped was called a scream. Ah. Ah. Master. You let me go. I won't dare anymore. Buggy kept begging for mercy, but it was obvious that Lin Wuya would not just let him go, because when the disciples went down the mountain, he had warned everyone that they should not do anything that hurts the truth after going down the mountain. Under the circumstances that he warned, Buggy still knowingly committed the crime, which undoubtedly did not touch Lin Wuya's bottom line. Therefore, after Buggy yelled these words, Lin Wuya not only didn't show mercy from his subordinates, but instead drew it even harder. Happiness. With whip after whip, Lin Wuya kept beating Buggy. As for Buggy's horrible call, his eyes were cut open, and the whole square echoed with Buggy's miserable cry. Not far away, the Buggy Pirates group looked at the bumped Buggy who was yelling, and they were suddenly shocked. Dignified Captain Buggy, East Blue's premier pirate, was whipped like this. Snapped. Snapped. In the square, Lin Wuya held a long whip and lashed Buggy continuously. Buggy screamed every time he slapped Buggy. As for the Buggy Pirates group around, they only dared to watch from a distance. How dare they come forward? After a few more strokes, Lin Wuya stopped, rubbed his aching wrist, and then asked Zoro, how long have you been hitting? Master, you have been smoking for 3 full hours. Zoro said so. 3 hours. Then stop here today, and make up the rest tomorrow. Passing the whip in his hand to Zoro, Lin Wuya turned and looked at the Buggy Pirates not far away. Let's put down your captain. Yes. Yes. The pirates nodded, and then rushed to put Buggy down from the beam. The Buggy look at this moment can be said to be miserable. It can't be miserable. Except for a better face, there is almost no good place in other places. All skin and flesh are broken. Captain Buggy is so pitiful. Some subordinates felt distressed and even wiped their tears. Buggy limped to Lin Wuya after being put down by his subordinates. Old teacher. Don't look at me so poorly. These whips can't offset what you do. Lin Wuya looked at Buggy coldly. Although he knew that the pirates were very bad, he didn't allow his disciples. You go to kill the pirate, I won't say a word, but if you were doing some housebreaking activities as a pirate, this Lin Wuya will be intolerable. After all, he didn't teach Buggy their skills to let him do it. I know. Where did Buggy dare to violate Lin Wuya's words, and kept nodding straight. Just no. Lin Wuya snorted coldly, and then said to Buggy, besides, I am staying here tonight, and you arrange for your subordinates to clean up 2 rooms and come out. The reason for the 2 rooms is naturally because there are 3 people on his side, one of him. As for Zoro and Kuina, although they are of different genders, they are only children now and can live in 1 room. Yes, teacher. I'm going to order someone to make arrangements. Buggy nodded, and then said to a subordinate next to him, quick, go and prepare for the 2 rooms to come out. Yes. Captain Buggy. The subordinate nodded, and then left here to arrange a room. After giving orders to his men, Buggy turned and looked at Lin Wuya again. Teacher, when did you go down the mountain? I went down the mountain more than half a month ago. Lin Wuya said lightly. Buggy's expression changed, and then he said, huh. More than half a month ago. Then why did you come to me now, master? Although Lin Wuya was miserable, Buggy still likes his master very much in his heart. Lin Wuya said, the phone worms you gave me are dead. Only the phone worm left by your younger brother Koshiro is still alive, so I contacted him. I have been with Koshiro for the past half-month. Are you there with junior brother Koshiro? Buggy's eyes sank, and then he cursed secretly. This damn Koshiro. The teacher didn't tell him when he went down the mountain, causing him to be beaten like this by the teacher. What are you whispering? Lin Wuya frowned and looked at Buggy. No. Nothing. Buggy's face suddenly became pleased, and then stretched out a hand to support one of Lin Wuya's arm. Master. I will take you to my Buggy pirate group for a stroll. Lin Wuya snorted coldly. Don't think that you can avoid the whip of tomorrow if you please me. I know. I know. Buggy nodded hurriedly, and then led Lin Wuya around his Buggy pirates. Speaking of it, the Buggy pirate group in this life is indeed much stronger than the original. Not only is the pirate group dozens of times larger, but the crew is also much stronger than the original. This point makes Lin Wuya a little satisfied. If after 10 years of practice, he still looks like a bird in the original book, then Lin Wuya may immediately hang Buggy and beat him up again. During the wandering, the sky gradually darkened. The dinner Buggy prepared was quite generous. The large table full of dangdang was full of superb dishes, several times more abundant than at Koshiro, and Buggy knew that Lin Wuya liked to drink, so he ordered someone to get some good wine. "Teacher, are you still satisfied?" At the table, Buggy asked Lin Wuya who was eating. "Not bad." Lin Wuya nodded. "Teacher, you think it's good?" Hearing Lin Wuya said that it was good, Buggy's face was instantly pleased, and then he picked up a jug of wine from the bottom of the table and filled Lin Wuya with a bowl. "Teacher, this is East Blue's best wine, try it." Picking up the bowl, Lin Wuya took a sip, then nodded in satisfaction. "Not bad." "Right. I ordered someone to do it on purpose. I know that. Hello, teacher." Buggy smiled. "You kid knows how to be a teacher." Lin Wuya looked at Buggy and said. Buggy grinned. "Hey, that's natural. After all, I was behind the teacher for the longest time, much longer than those guys." After that, Buggy filled Lin Wuya with another bowl, and Lin Wuya did not politely picked up the bowl and took another sip. After dinner, Lin Wuya yelled Buggy to him, and said to him, "Attack me and let me see how your strength has improved after going down the mountain." "Teacher, this is unnecessary." Buggy hesitated. "Don't play with me, hurry up," Lin Wuya scolded. "Okay. No way." Buggy had to obey. Standing on the ground of Lin Wuya, Buggy covered armament hockey with his right hand, and then he shot out directly, punching Lin Wuya. Boom. Lin Wuya put his hands behind him, and fist facing Buggy was directly clenched, but when he held it, Lin Wuya frowned. The power seems to be the same as when on the mountain. Aware of this, Lin Wuya was about to look at Buggy. Wouldn't this kid not practice completely after going down the mountain? Open observation hockey. I try to get to which step? Lin Wuya asked Buggy. Yes, it's the teacher. Buggy is a little guilty at the moment, because he really didn't practice at all after going down the mountain. His current strength is still the same as the mountain. Open observation hockey, and then Lin Wuya attacked Buggy. With this attack, Lin Wuya's gaze at Buggy completely changed. Even observation hockey was the same as it was on the mountain. "Show me your devil fruit ability. Show the 6 forms to me again." Next, Lin Wuya kept Buggy to show him the skills he taught, and with Buggy's show, Lin Wuya's anger grew more and more. Armament hockey is the same as the mountain. Observation hockey is the same as the mountain. The level of development of devil fruit is the same as on the mountain. Even physique is the same as on the mountain. The things he taught Buggy is all at the level of staying on the mountain. "Zoro, get the whip," Lin Wuya shouted. "Yes, to master." Zoro didn't know what happened, but he still passed the whip to Lin Wuya. "You two hang him up again." "Yes, to master." Zoro and Kuina nodded, and then they found a rope to tie up the Buggy again, and then hung it from the beam. The people in the Buggy pirates group around looked at the Captain Buggy who was hanging up again, and they were all dumbfounded for a while. What's the situation? Why Captain Buggy was hoisted again? Lin Wuya carried the whip and walked to Buggy, angrily said, "Do you know why you should be slapped again as a teacher?" No. Because my strength hasn't improved at all." Buggy said busy. "You still know." Lin Wuya became angry. "After going down the mountain for 7 full years, you haven't made any progress at all. Armed color, seeing and hearing color, split fruit, physical skills are all at the level of staying on the mountain. I can't kill you today." To be honest, Buggy became a pirate, and he did some housebreaking activities. Although Lin Wuya was a little angry, he could understand it. After all, he was a pirate. But for the entire 7 years, Buggy hasn't improved at all, which makes Lin Wuya unbearable. For 7 years, even if Buggy only spends 10 minutes a day practicing, his strength will be much stronger than when he was on the mountain. However, Buggy's strength hasn't improved a bit for 7 years. What does this show? It shows that Buggy hasn't practiced at all in these 7 years. How does this make Lin Wuya not angry? Why did he accept such a disciple who was unworthy? Speaking of the long whip, Lin Wuya was violently pumping against Buggy, even harder than during the day. Buggy was pumped badly by Lin Wuya during the day. If he could stand it, he would be pumped like this again, and immediately yelled. While shouting, he prayed to Lin Wuya, "Teacher, I know I was wrong. I will try my best to practice tomorrow and tomorrow." Tomorrow. Buggy didn't he say anything. When Lin Wuya became more angry, he said to Buggy, when I went down the mountain, I told you that your talent is not good. Cultivation. How did you promise me at the time? You said that after going down the mountain, you must practice hard, and when I go down the mountain, I will see you who are far different from the one on the mountain. The result? Your strength is still the same as that of the mountain for 7 years, and you actually told me that you are starting to work hard. I believe you a ghost. Happiness. Speaking of the long whip, Lin Wuya slapped again. As for Buggy, he called it miserable, which was just like killing a pig. Buggy is also very regretful at this moment. He knew this a long time ago. In the past 7 years, he would take some time to practice what he said, but now it is too late to say anything. Seeing the teacher like this, he knew that it would be endless if he didn't smoke for a few hours, so he didn't beg for mercy anymore and let Lin Wuya smoke. As the saying goes, dead pigs are not afraid of boiling water. At this moment, Buggy has this mentality. But who is Lin Wuya? He has been with Buggy for 10 years, and he has known Buggy's temperament for a long time. So when he saw Buggy like this, the anger in his heart couldn't help but become more angry, so he started to act even more. It was really a whip. Whip to the meat. Whip after whip, Lin Wuya stopped until late at night. Teacher. Are you sour? The battered Buggy didn't forget to ask about Lin Wuya's hand, but Lin Wuya was even more angry with this question. He said coldly towards Buggy, even if my hands are sore, don't even think about coming down today. After that, Lin Wuya continued to smoke again, and it stopped for 2 hours. It's not that Lin Wuya doesn't want to smoke anymore, but his hand is so sore that he can't even catch the whip. I will stop here for the time being today, and I will treat you well tomorrow. I haven't made any progress in 7 years, how can I accept an apprentice like you? After saying this, the angry Lin Wuya went straight away. Zoro and Kuina also left with Lin Wuya. After Lin Wuya left, Buggy's subordinates stepped forward and put Buggy down. Seeing Buggy's skin spattered, a pirate suddenly said, Captain Buggy, your teacher is too ruthless. It is said that the teacher loves his disciples, but the teacher, Captain Buggy, is really cruel. This is almost killing Captain Buggy. This is pretty good. Buggy sighed. The complexions of those subordinates suddenly changed, and their skins were ripped apart, which is not bad. The next day, when Lin Wuya got up, he saw Buggy who was waiting for breakfast in the lobby. Lin Wuya walked to the dining table and then sat down, and said indifferently, woke up so early? Teacher, come to me, can I not afford to go early? In addition, the disciple has prepared your favorite breakfast, snowfish. While Buggy was talking, he picked a snowfish on the table and placed it on the plate in front of Lin Wuya. This kid is very caring, he even remembers what I like for breakfast. Looking at Buggy's caring look, the anger in Lin Wuya's heart also faded a bit at this moment. Although Buggy is a little uncomfortable, he does a good job in other aspects, which is much better than that of Koshiro. But this is the only thing that makes Lin Wuya more satisfied. After breakfast, Buggy took Lin Wuya and wandered around. What about Shanks? How is he now? Lin Wuya asked Buggy. The relationship between Shanks and Buggy Lin Wuya knows. They are both crew members of the Roger Pirates. Both of them came to his island at the same time. It's just that Shanks has worked harder than Buggy, and the qualifications are also very good, only 2 years after learning. Shanks. He is now the 4 emperors of New World. Buggy replied. Has it become 4 emperors? Lin Wuya nodded, almost as he expected. After all, Shanks in the original book became the 4 emperors. After studying behind him for 2 years, he has improved in all aspects of strength. It is normal to become 4 emperors ahead of schedule. Have you contacted Shanks after going down the mountain? Lin Wuya asked. I don't want to contact him. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't have lost the treasure map of demon fruit power. Buggy said with an unhappy expression. Lin Wuya shook his head, this kid is still brooding about it. That's right. Teacher, who are the 2 little ghosts with you before? Buggy asked Lin Wuya. They. One of them is Koshiro's daughter, and the other is a student of Koshiro Dojo. They are now following me to learn swordsmanship. Lin Wuya said. That's it. Buggy nodded clearly. After continuing to stroll around for a while, Lin Wuya returned to Buggy's place, and then he said to Buggy. Okay. I have to go back as a teacher. I'm with you. Buggy licked his face. Are you willing to abandon your Buggy pirates? Lin Wuya joked. It's okay, master, besides, I want to accompany you more with the teacher. Buggy pleased. Your boy has a sweet mouth. Lin Wuya smiled faintly and brushed his sleeves, then let's go together. Boarding Buggy's boat, Lin Wuya left Orangetown with Zoro and Kuina, heading towards Ishin Dojo, Shimotsuki Village. Orangetown is not far from Shimotsuki Village and it is only 100 nautical miles away, and Buggy's boat is relatively fast, and it only took an hour to get there. Teacher. You are back. Seeing Lin Wuya coming back, Koshiro greeted him immediately, and then Koshiro noticed Buggy who was next to Lin Wuya, and his eyes suddenly lit up. Brother Buggy, you are here too. Huh. Brother Buggy, what's the matter with your injury? At this time, Koshiro noticed these scars on Buggy's body and asked immediately. I fell by myself. I fell by myself. Koshiro was puzzled, and he could fall like this. Zoro did it in front of Koshiro, and whispered. Don't listen to him nonsense, it was too master. Koshiro paused slightly and looked at Buggy again. Hey. What are you looking at, Koshiro? Buggy glared at Koshiro and said. Haha. Nothing. Koshiro waved his hand with a smile on his face, but his heart was secretly said. Brother Buggy was really miserable, he was beaten like this by the teacher. After Lin Wuya entered the dojo, Buggy took Koshiro aside and yelled. You kid. Why didn't the teacher tell me in advance? In his opinion, if Koshiro had informed in advance, he would never be beaten like this by the teacher. Koshiro explained. Don't blame me, Brother Buggy, I wanted to tell you too, but the teacher told me not to notify you. So I can't help it. After all, the master's order cannot be violated. Can't you tell me secretly? Buggy's angry teeth tickled. Cannot. Koshiro resolutely said. You are ruthless. Buggy was speechless, and only these two words popped out in the end. After Buggy followed Lin Wuya to Koshiro, he did not leave, and stayed here for the next few days. As for Lin Wuya, his life has not changed because of Buggy's arrival. He still took Zoro and Kuina to the back mountain to practice as usual. By the way, there is another Buggy. After being violently pumped by Lin Wuya that day, Buggy now dare not slacken anymore and follow Zoro and Kuina to practice in the back mountain. Just as the subjects of practice, Kuina and Zoro practiced shaving and swordsmanship, while Buggy practiced the physical arts taught to him by armament hockey and observation hockey and Lin Wuya. Later, Yamanaka, Zoro and Kuina were in the practice of shaving. Shave. Zoro and Kuina had reached the level of being able to step on the ground 10 times in an instant some time ago. After several days of practice after returning, both of them are already master shaves thoroughly. Now they are able to start shaving like Lin Wuya did and appear 20 meters away instantly. Bang. Bang. With a quick step on the ground with both feet, Zoro and Kuina disappeared into place in an instant, and when they reappeared, they were already 20 meters away. Yes. Master shaved thoroughly in less than a month, so the progress is faster than your master, father. Lin Wuya said with appreciation. Hey, it's all because you taught me well, master. Zoro and Kuina chuckled. The two of them knew that if it hadn't been for Lin Wuya's careful teaching, they wouldn't have learned to shave in such a short time. I'm just playing a supporting role, and the point is that you work hard enough. Lin Wuya smiled slightly, and immediately faced both Zoro and Kuina and said, the practice of shave is over here. Next, I will teach you something new. And what I want to teach you today is the power of slashing strength. This is the skill that can only be understood when swordsmanship reaches a certain level. Zoro and Kuina looked ecstatic. Master Tai actually wanted to pass on the power of steel cutting to them. They naturally know what the power of cutting steel is, that is the power that can cut steel. This thing is difficult to say, simple is not easy, the important point is whether you can understand the breadth of all things. Lin Wuya said. Understand the breadth of all things? Zoro and Kuina frowned, and they could see that they were very strange to this existence. Yes. Lin Wuya nodded and said, everything has breath, trees have trees, rocks have rocks, and earth has earth. These breaths are extremely weak, but once they become the master, they will have the power to cut steel. Like this. Brush. Lifting the long knife in his hand, Lin Wuya slashed at the rock beside him. The action was very light, but the rock was split into two at the moment it was touched by the long knife. Similarly, you can selectively cut things according to the breadth of all things, just like me now, don't want to cut this leaf, then no matter how I swing the knife, the leaf will not break. Brush. Lifting the long knife, Lin Wuya swiped quickly at a cluster of leaves on the big tree beside him. The long knife fell on the cluster of leaves, only sliding over the surface of the leaves. As for the leaves themselves, they hadn't even been scratched. Such a sharp knife cuts through the leaves without cutting a single leaf. Zoro and Kuina looked at the intact leaves, and they were shocked. Looking at the shocked Zoro and Kuina, Lin Wuya said lightly, "This is the power of all things breathing. If you can comprehend the breathing of all things, you can also be like me." "Then how can we comprehend the breath of all things?" Kuina asked Lin Wuya. "Very simple. One word is quiet." Lin Wuya faintly said with his hands behind him. "Let yourself be alone, feel the surroundings seriously, and persevere, you can realize this power. There is actually no shortcut to the breathing of all things, only a calm mind can do it. This is also a threshold for many swordsmen. But Zoro and Kuina are different. Although both of them are still very young, they are both very talented in swordsmanship. Lin Wuya believes that they can understand it. It is only a matter of time." "Leave yourself alone?" Zoro and Kuina nodded thoughtfully, and then the two of them sat cross-legged on the ground and closed their eyes. Seeing Zoro and Kuina, they were in a state for an instant. Lin Wuya didn't bother and walked to the side quietly. "This flash is half a day." Zoro opened his eyes and complained to Lin Wuya. Master, it's so difficult. I tried for so long, but I didn't feel the breath of all things in your mouth. But my own breath sounds very good, clear." Lin Wuya smiled and said, "If it's not difficult, wouldn't it be possible that all swordsmen in the world can master this power?" After that, Lin Wuya looked at Kuina, and Kuina was still meditating at this moment. After a while, Kuina opened her eyes. When Kuina opened his eyes, Lin Wuya asked, "How?" "I didn't feel it, but I can hear my heartbeat." Kuina said so. "Oh?" There was a bright color in Lin Wuya's eyes, and this Nizi could hear her heartbeat the first time she realized it. "You know, to hear your own heartbeat, you need to be calm to a certain degree." Kuina could hear her heartbeat as soon as she meditated for the first time. No wonder Zoro has challenged so many times without beating Kuina. This Nizi's talent in swordsmanship is really terrifying. Putting away these thoughts, Lin Wuya said to the two of them, "Go down the mountain." The two nodded, and then left the back mountain with Lin Wuya. In the afternoon, Lin Wuya still let Zoro and Kuina meditate alone. Not only in the afternoon, but for the next half a month, Lin Wuya let Zoro and Kuina practice this task. After all, the power of cutting steel is very powerful. If Zoro and Kuina can master, then their own swordsmanship has been greatly improved. Coupled with the shave that he taught before, it can be said that even children Zoro and Kuina can play against some more powerful swordsmen. Time passed in a hurry, and half a month passed in a blink of an eye. After half a month of practice, although Zoro and Kuina did not realize the breath of all things, Lin Wuya could feel that they were a lot closer to realizing the breath of all things. Lin Wuya is also very satisfied with this. It seems that both Zoro and Kuina are very talented in understanding the breath of all things. But it is normal to think about it. After all, both of them are very talented in swordsmanship. Both Zoro and Kuina have the qualifications of a great swordsman. Although the breath of all things is the threshold for many swordsmen, it is only limited to swordsmen. For people with the qualifications of great swordsmen, it is not difficult to understand them, it is just a matter of time. Then, another month passed. With the guidance of Lin Wuya and hard training, Kuina finally succeeded in comprehending the breath of all things, but Zoro is not bad, although the grade is 2 years younger than Kuina, but the qualifications are there, and the breath of all things is only understood. Only half a month longer than Kuina. Later Yamanaka, Kuina and Zoro held long knives and chopped on 2 pieces of steel. Click. The blade slashed across, and the 2 pieces of steel instantly split into 2. Is this the power of steel cutting? Zoro and Kuina looked at the broken steel, and there was a burst of ecstasy in their eyes. On the other side, Buggy, who was cultivating, was dumbfounded when he saw this. "Oh my god. These 2 brats actually cut off the steel. You are already masters of the power of steel cutting. The next step is to experience. Tomorrow morning, go to sea with Master Tai. Master Tai will take you to experience." "Yes. To Master," Zoro and Kuina shouted excitedly. The two of them are also very excited when they think about going out to practice. After all, they have not really experienced it until now. The only time Lin Wuya took them out to sea was the last time Lin Wuya took them out to sea. It's not too late. The next day, at 8 o'clock in the morning, Lin Wuya took Zoro and Kuina on board again. "Teacher, how long are you going out this time?" Koshiro asked Lin Wuya. Regarding Kuina and Zoro going to sea, Koshiro is not worried because there is a teacher. "At least 1 week, as long as 1 month, Lin Wuya said lightly. "Teacher, I want to go with you too." Buggy looked cute. "You just stay here honestly, if you go, how can you still experience it?" Lin Wuya gave Buggy a white look. Although Buggy is a bit uncomfortable, he is the #1 pirate in East Blue now. If he takes Buggy with him, Lin Wuya can imagine what the pirates will look like when they see Buggy, and I am afraid they will run away right away. Okay then. Buggy drooped his head. Next, Lin Wuya didn't say anything more, and drove the boat out of here. As for the destination of the first stop, Lin Wuya has already decided, Cocoyashi village. If he remembers correctly, the dragon pirates is there. The strength of the dragon pirates is not that strong, but it is undoubtedly enough for Kuina, who is only 11 years old, and Zoro, who is 9 years old. And when traveling to Coco West Village, Lin Wuya also told Zoro and Kuina of his opponent this time. Zoro and Kuina were shocked when they heard that Lin Wuya had arranged the dragon pirates as their opponent. Immediately afterwards, Zoro said, Master 2, the dragon pirates are so powerful, we may not have been able to fight. Although Zoro is young, he is from East Blue after all, so he has heard of some famous pirate groups in East Blue. The Evil Dragon Pirate Group is one of them, and the internal masters are like clouds. The leader of the Murloc Arlong is even more terrifying. The official bounty is as high as 20 million Baileys. They may not be able to defeat such a powerful pirate group. Yeah. 2 master. Or let's change another one. Kuina also opened her mouth, and she was also worried that she and Zoro would not be the opponents of the dragon pirates. Don't worry. You can fight with them. If you really can't beat the master, I will take it. Lin Wuya's words made Zoro and Kuina a little relieved. Then, Zoro said to Lin Wuya, that's all, once we are not the opponent too, master, you can help us. Lin Wuya smiled and nodded. The ship sailed rapidly from the sea level, and it took about an hour to finally arrive at Cocoyashi village. At the moment on the coast, some fishermen were drying their nets there. When Lin Wuya, Zoro, and Kuina landed on the island, they all looked over. However, Lin Wuya looks like an 80-year-old man from the outside, while Kuina and Zoro are only 2 children about 10 years old. Therefore, the eyes of these fishermen only stayed on Lin Wuya, Zoro, and Kuina for a while, and then they didn't look at it again. Let's go. Bringing Zoro, Kuina, and Lin Wuya along the trail slowly went deep into Coco West Village. Finally stopped in front of a tall building. It is much more luxurious than the village looks like, it is more like a park, and the interior is a building similar to a pagoda. With the memory in his mind, Lin Wuya knew that this place should be the location of the Evil Dragon Pirate Group, which is Arlong Park. Master, is this here? Zoro glanced at the park in front of him, then turned his head and asked Lin Wuya beside him. Yeah. That's it. Lin Wuya nodded, and immediately patted the heads of Zoro and Kuina. Go in. The 2 nodded, and then followed Lin Wuya into Arlong Park. At the moment, not far from Elong Park, there are some residents of Coco West Village standing, looking at the Lin Wuya, Zoro and Kuina entering Arlong Park. They are all startled. The old man and 2 children even entered Arlong Park. Don't they know that the people living there are from the Dragon Pirates group? Quick. Go and notify Mr. Kenzo. Immediately, the 2 put down their hose and rushed towards Kenzo frantically. Arlong Park. At this moment, the leader Arlong was lying on a chair by the pool, and standing beside him were several senior officials of the Arlong Pirate Group. Octopus Little 8, Crow Obi, Achu. Like Arlong, they are all Murlocs. Carlo Obi, have the villagers' protection fees been collected this month? Arlong lay lazily on the chair, looking at Carlo Obi in front of him. Boss Arlong. Take it all. Carlo Obi is a cartilaginous Murloc, he nodded towards Arlong. That's good. Arlong smiled with satisfaction, and immediately said, also pay more attention to the people in Cocoyashi village. I always feel that some families have hidden some people and haven't reported it. Don't worry. Boss Arlong, I understand. Carlo Obi smiled. Arlong nodded. Closing his eyes, Arlong was about to rest for a while, but his brow furrowed in the next moment because he heard a sound of footsteps. Opening his eyes, Arlong looked in the direction of the sound, where 3 figures appeared in front of him. To be precise, it should be an old man and 2 children. Kruby, who are they? Arlong asked at Kruby. I don't know. Kruby is also at a loss at the moment. An old man and 2 children came to Arlong Park? Hey. Old man, did you go to the wrong place? Arlong frowned. If it hadn't been for Kruby's previous statement that all the protection fees for the residents of Cocoyashi village had been paid, he was in a better mood, and he would have taken the shot at this moment. The old man is Lin Wuya. When he heard what Arlong said, he smiled and asked, wrong? There should be no? Isn't this Arlong Park? Do you dare to break in when you know this is my site? While saying this, Arlong's face gradually became gloomy. No way. Lin Wuya shrugged. East Blue doesn't have some more powerful pirates, so I can only find you dragon pirates. What do you mean? Arlong's eyes flashed with a chill, and he heard the bad words in the other party's words. Lin Wuya smiled and said, "It's not interesting, but my 2 disciples followed me for a while and took them out to practice, so I came to you." After hearing what Lin Wuya said, Arlong directly sat up from the chair, looked at Lin Wuya with interest, and said, "You mean you want to take our dragon pirate group to the 2 little ghosts next to you? Practice your hands?" "That's what it means." Lin Wuya smiled and nodded. "Hey. I'm not mistaken. Take our dragon pirate group to practice. Does this old guy know what kind of dragon pirate group exists?" Haha. The first time I heard that we were training with our dragon pirates, it was really interesting. The members of the evil dragon pirate group laughed loudly at this moment, and then Kruby and AQIU walked out. "Old guy, I'll accompany you 2 students and grandchildren to practice their hands." They are not angry, so in their opinion the old guy's idea is simply stupid. Practice their hands with the Arlong pirates? And there are still 2 little devil heads. This kind of thinking is really naive. "Come on. We are ready. You can let your 2 little disciples take action at any time." Kruby rubbed his broad murloc palm and smiled playfully at Lin Wuya. The people in the evil dragon pirate group around them have an attitude of watching a good show. Looking at the playful Crow Obi and AQIU, Lin Wuya smiled faintly, and immediately looked at Zoro and Kuina. "Go. It is good." The 2 nodded, and then they drew out the long knife in their hands, looking at Kruby and Akamichi intently. "Be careful. Just do your best to attack," Kruby said disapprovingly. "That's good." Zoro and Kuina stared at them, and then they stepped on the ground with their feet. Shave. Swipe. In an instant, the 2 of them disappeared directly into the sights of Kruby and AQIU. Kruby, who had laughed at Zoro and Kuina, frowned, and the same was true for Murloc AQIU. It disappeared in an instant. Here, at this moment, 2 voices of a man and a woman rang in the ears of Kruby and AQIU. They turned around subconsciously, and even the 2 little ghosts appeared behind them. What? Immediately, their faces changed drastically. When? To be a senior cadre of the Arlong Pirates, both Kruby and AQIU have a certain IQ. Therefore, after seeing these 2 little ghosts, they should realize that these 2 people are not ordinary kid. But at this time I realized that it was obviously too late. After appearing behind them with shaved, Zoro and Kuina made quick shots. Brush. Brush. The blade light flashed, and then a deep bloodstain appeared on the backs of Kruby and Achu. Ah. Ah. Kruby and AQIU screamed directly. How is it possible? These 2 little ghosts actually hurt AQIU and Kruby. It's a lie. The people from the evil dragon pirate group around looked at the long knife marks on the backs of Krobi and AQIU, and they were all stunned for a while. They were a little unbelievable about this scene. After all, AQIU and Kruby were high-ranking cadres of their dragon pirate group. Arlong's eyes were also full of shock, but by comparison, what surprised him more was the means that the 2 little ghosts had shown before. Arlong is not like other people. He was born on the Fishmen Island, and was once a member of the Pirates of the Sun, so his knowledge is much broader. He recognized it when Zoro and Kuina made the shot earlier. That is one of Marine 6 Styles' shaves. How is this possible? There was a deep shock in Arlong's eyes. Although Arlong is not Marine, he knows Marine 6 Styles, and this shave is one of them. In the past in the Pirates of the Suns, he often confronted Marines, and he had also come into contact with some masters with 6 types of Marines, but these Marines were all characters at the general level. The 2 little ghosts seem to be about 10 years old, and they can shave one of Marine 6 Styles. Besides, after AQIU and Kruby took a sword with Zoro and Kuina, they also got serious. But being serious does not mean that you can stop the attack of Zoro and Kuina. Shaved in Lin Wuya's own swordsmanship, Zoro and Kuina almost pressed them and beat them, but within 10 minutes, the 2 of them were bloodstained. Don't be kidding. Kruby was furious. He was not an opponent of a kid, and the same was true of the Murloc AQIU, his face flushed. Shame. This is simply an extreme shame. 1000 watts Jungchuan. The angry Kruby directly used his Nirvana, 1000 watts, and blasted Kuina with his fist. Although it is not as powerful as Jinbei, if it falls on Kuina, it is enough to seriously hurt Kuina. But the Qianhua Zhengquan is only a physical skill after all, and it needs to be close to exert its power, so it is obviously not a threat to Kuina, who has been shaved by the master. Brush. Starting to shave, Kuina disappeared in front of Kruby again. Brush. Then Daomang flashed. Kruby had another wound on his body, plus those wounds left by Kuina before. A total of 39. These wounds saw the bones with knives, and if Kruby, who was a murloc, was physically stronger than a human, the 39 knives would be enough to kill him. As for the murloc Aqiu, he is not much better than Kruby, with 37 knife marks on his body. These knife marks were all cut by Zoro. As for Zoro and Kuina, they only left some sweat, and there were no scars. They were in stark contrast with the Kruby and the murloc Aqiu who were covered with knife marks. Even children can see that this time Kuina and Zoro won, and they won. Humble human beings dare to hurt my compatriots, die to me. Arlong's eyes turned red at the moment. This is considered the only desirable aspect of Arlong. Although his personality is bad, he treats his compatriots well. Therefore, when he saw that Kruby and Aqiu were cut so many knives by those two little ghosts, he directly picked up his weapon's serrated sword and slashed towards Kuina and Zoro. Zoro and Kuina joined forces to deal with this guy. Besides Lin Wuya, when he saw Arlong rushing towards Zoro and Kuina, he was directly towards them. Arlong's strength Lin Wuya knows. It's relatively strong. Even if Zoro and Kuina have been behind him during this time, they have improved a lot, but if they are alone, they are not Arlong's opponents at all. Only when the two of them work together can they have a chance to win. Understood. To Master. Zoro and Kuina nodded, and then looked at the rushing Arlong. Brush. Brush. The two started to shave almost at the same time. As for Arlong did not change because of the disappearance of Zoro and Kuina, he knows the nature of shaving. Although the speed is extremely fast and it feels like disappearing in an instant, the path that he rushes out is straight. This is also what Arlong realized when he played against Marine in the Pirates of the Sun. Therefore, when he saw Zoro and Kuina disappear, he directly waved the sawtooth knife in his hand and volleyed in front of him. Obviously it was swayed towards the air, but at this moment two metal collision sounds were heard. Immediately after that, the two figures flew out directly. These two figures are Zoro and Kuina, as expected of Arlong boss. Around, the people of the Evil Dragon pirate group saw that Arlong stunned the two little ghosts with a single blow, and their faces were immediately happy. In contrast, Lin Wuya frowned slightly, and this guy actually hit Zoro and Kuina who were shaved. Although Zoro and Kuina today are still young and can't maximize the power of shaving, the speed of shaving by stepping on the ground dozens of times in an instant is also quite amazing. This Arlong actually hit Zoro and Kuina. It deserves to be from the Sun Pirates. Arlong is a member of the Pirates of the Sun. Lin Wuya knows that he wanted to crack the shave. It should have been realized by Arlong in the Pirates of the Sun and Marine for countless times. Zoro and Kuina glide on the ground for tens of meters before they stopped. At this moment, their faces were slightly dignified. Obviously he did not expect that Arlong would hit them in a single encounter, and the force just now was so strong. Zoro joined hands and slashed the big serrated knife in his hand. Kuina said to Zoro, "It is good." Zoro nodded, and then started shaving again with Kuina. Brush. Brush. The figures of the two disappeared again. Huh. You even used this trick. What a brat. Arlong snorted coldly, waved the sawtooth knife in his hands with both hands and slashed in front of him again. This time he also hit Zoro and Kuina, but the difference is that he did not slash Zoro and Kuina like before. On the contrary, the serrated knife in his hand was directly transformed into 3 pieces. Dang. 2 serrated knives fell to the ground and made a clear metallic sound, while the other was held in Arlong's hand. It cut off Boss Arlong's serrated knife. The people in the surrounding Dragon Pirates group were shocked at this moment and they couldn't close their mouths. They didn't understand that the same steel was the same as the collision between the knives. Why did the Boss Arlong's sawtooth knife break? That was just now. There are waves in the eyes of Octopus Zauba. He is also a swordsman, so he knows the essence of swordsmanship. The collision between the knives, but the boss of Arlong's knives broke like tofu. There is only one possibility, that is, the swordsmanship of these two little ghosts has reached the point where they can cut steel. The power of cutting steel. When these 4 words appeared in Xiao Ba's mind, his whole person directly froze. Zongang is the skill of the master of swordsmanship. These two little ghosts who seem to be only 10 years old are actually capable of Zhongong technique. OMG. What kind of world is this? Besides, Arlong himself, he also froze at the moment. Looking at the grip in his hand and the two blades on the ground, his heart could not be calm for a long time. His sawtooth knife was cut into 3 pieces by these two little ghosts. Hey, shark monster, if I lose my weapon, I want to see how you can stop us. Zoro grinned at Arlong, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. Then he stepped his feet on the ground. Brush. Shaving started, and instantly he appeared on Arlong's left side. Hand up and down. This knife also contained the power of cutting steel, and Arlong's tough sharkskin was directly cut open. Scarlet blood flowed down Arlong's back, rendering his entire back red. Damn, it's kid. The sharp pain behind Arlong's mouth twitched slightly, and then he lifted his wide murloc palm and directly blasted towards Zoro. However, Kakuzu didn't even touch Zoro's clothes, and with the help of shaved Zoro disappeared in front of Arlong again. With the serrated sword before, Arlong was able to stop Kuina, who started the shaving, but now that he has lost his weapon, he can't resist Zoro and Kuina in the shaving state with his bare hands, let alone the Zoro who has learned the power of cutting steel. And Kuina. However, within 5 minutes, Arlong's body was covered with scars. Although those injuries did not kill Arlong, they were enough to make Arlong quite uncomfortable. After all, they were all wounds on the bone. Phew. Phew. Arlong gasped. He didn't expect these two little ghosts to be so powerful. His eyes flashed with a gloomy color, and then Arlong jumped directly into the pool. Not far away, Lin Wuya looked at Arlong, who jumped into the pool and walked towards Kuina and Zoro. Although Zoro and Kuina suppressed Arlong before, the young Zoro and Kuina could not stop Arlong's trick. Kuina, Zoro, this experience will end here. Lin Wuya walked to Zoro and Kuina's side and turned towards them. It is good. Zoro and Kuina still listened to Lin Wuya's words. Even if the name Arlong was not completely defeated by them, they did not continue. Since Master Tai said no more, then no more. However, Zoro and Kuina stopped fighting, but Arlong, who was deep in the pool at the moment, did not stop. I saw that he shot out, like a sharp arrow, rushing directly from the bottom of the pool to Lin Wuya, Zoro and Kuina. Die to me. 3 humble humans. Zoro and Kuina's expressions changed, and they were ready to shoot together, but Lin Wuya stepped forward. Leave it to me. Seeing Arlong sprinting, Lin Wuya's eyes narrowed slightly. Boom. In the next instant, a majestic gravitational force swept out of his body, pressing against Arlong like a mountain. Arlong in the sprint only felt a strong pressure coming from his body, and then his whole body fell directly and hit the ground. Boom. The hard ground was directly smashed away. What is this? Arlong was pressed on the ground and couldn't move. The whole person seemed to be stuck to the ground. The surrounding evil dragon pirates looked at the immobile boss Arlong in front of Lin Wuya, and they all rushed out. Go and solve this old guy together. Rescue boss Arlong. Go. Between XUMI, the entire evil dragon pirate group had surrounded the ancients, but they didn't wait for their next move. A strong gravitational force fell on them, and then they directly hit the ground like Arlong. This gravitational force grew stronger and stronger, and in the end the entire ground was cracked open. Next moment. Boom. The entire ground collapsed directly. After doing all this, Lin Wuya turned to Zoro and Kuina and said, "Let's go." Zoro and Kuina nodded, then followed Lin Wuya and left here. Before leaving, the two of them couldn't help but glanced into the collapsed ground. Master 2 is amazing. After the 3 Lin Wuya disciples and grandsons left, a marine who was in charge of Cocoyashi village walked out tremblingly, looking at the backs of the 3 Lin Wuya and the collapsed ground behind them. His heart twitched. Who on earth is this old gentleman? He solved the entire dragon pirate group in an instant. You have to report the situation here to your superiors. Leaving Arlong Park, the marine rushed to the branch madly. In his opinion, whether the old gentleman is a good or a bad person, he must report the matter to his superiors. After all, the strength of the Dragon Pirates group is not weak, and it can solve the entire Dragon Pirates group with no effort. Let alone East Blue, it is quite powerful even if it is placed in New World. After the marine left, the village police Jian Zhang came to Arlong Park under the leadership of several villagers. The reason why Kenzo came here was naturally that the 2 villagers had reported to him that an old gentleman had entered Arlong Park with 2 children by mistake. Because he was worried about the safety of the 3 of them, Kenzo came here. However, the scene I saw before my eyes stunned Kenzo and the 2 villagers. There was a ruin at the site, and the entire group of dragon pirates was gone. Mr. Kenzo, You see there is a big hole. At this time, a villager pointed to the big pit by the pool, and Jian Zhang was about to look there when he heard the words. Forced by the curiosity in his heart, he walked over and then glanced at the big hole. However, at this look, his pupils suddenly shrank. All the members in the big pit were from the dragon pirates, and even the leader, Arlong, was also there. Ah! Uncle Aegean. At this time, a girl with an orange dress and a small skirt walked out tremblingly from behind a rock. This girl is not someone else but Nami. Nami, tell me what just happened here. Kenzo asked Nami. Nami nodded, and then explained what happened here. Hearing what Nami said, Jian Zhang's expression suddenly changed. Not only the expressions of the two villagers who came here with him also changed. Everything here comes from the old gentleman. The Dragon Pirate Group may not be considered as a powerful pirate group in the 4 sea areas, but it is also considered a well-known pirate group in East Blue, so the news of its demise soon spread from East Blue. It was also spread to the headquarters, and Lin Wuya's method of destroying the dragon pirates was too strong, even if it attracted the attention of Marine's senior management. Naval Headquarters, Malin Foder. In the meeting room, Sengoku, Garp, Crane Vice Admiral and other Marine executives are sitting here, and what they are discussing at this moment is the destruction of the East Blue Dragon pirates. Looking at the document from East Blue, Sengoku frowned slightly. Without any means, just standing there is to press the entire dragon pirate group into the ground. What kind of ability is this? Although I don't know what the ability is, but there is no doubt that this is the means of the capable person. That is to say, the old gentleman should be a demon fruit power. Vice Admiral Suru followed Sengoku's words. Garp. Did you know that East Blue has this number? Sengoku asked Garp. East Blue is Garp's hometown, and Garp sometimes goes to East Blue. Sengoku thinks that if there is such a character, Garp should know. No. Garp shook his head. At least there is no such person among the pirates and ordinary people I know. Don't you even know Garp? Sengoku frowned more tightly. It would be easy if he knew the identity of the other party, but it would be a little troublesome if he didn't know it. Because if the other party is a pirate, then the potential threat is great, even an old gentleman can't ignore it. Let's do it. I'm going back to see my grandson next week, and look into it by the way, Garp said. Okay, I'll leave it to you. Sengoku nodded. Sengoku is more at ease with Garp. Time panicked, and a week was over in a blink of an eye. During this week, Lin Wuya took Zoro and Kuina to practice in East Blue. What Kuina and Zoro played was cool, but the pirates were forced to fight. Facing Zoro and Kuina they only had to be abused. Now the pirates in East Blue saw Zoro and Kuina almost detouring. It's so boring. Master. There is no pirate that East Blue can fight. On the sea level, Zoro stood there, looking at the empty surroundings without a pirate's shadow, couldn't help but complain. No way. East Blue is, after all, the weakest ocean among the 4 oceans, and there is no way without some pirates who can fight. Lin Wuya said lightly. Master, shall we go back now? Zoro asked Lin Wuya. Wandering for a few days. If you find nothing, just go back. Lin Wuya said. It is good. Zoro nodded. Time flies, and it's dusk in a blink of an eye. Lin Wuya took Zoro and Kuina to a small island, and then found a forest. All of them choose the forest, naturally because there are many beasts here. Pick up wood and start a fire, and soon a bonfire is lit up in the forest. Next to the fire, Lin Wuya, Kuina, and Zoro were sitting there, and beside them was a wild boar that had just hit. At this moment, the 3 people of Tu and Sun were roasting on the fire with a wooden stick wearing wild boar. Soon, there was a burst of aroma on the barbecue. Master Tu. I'll start first. He hadn't eaten anything in the afternoon, and Zoro was hungry. After smelling the scent, he immediately picked up the roasted wild pork and ate it. Kuina quickly joined them, and the 2 little guys gnawed hard. Eat slowly, don't burn it. Lin Wuya smiled faintly, then picked up a piece of barbecue and ate it. When Lin Wuya, Kuina, and Zoro were eating vigorously, they were in a bush 10 meters away from them. A pair of big slick eyes stared at this place, staring at the side while still drooling. Then he directly stretched out his hand and grabbed a piece of barbecue beside the fire. It is strange to say that it is obviously a child's hand, but the moment it stretches out, it grows up, like rubber. Kuina and Zoro, who were enjoying eating right now, did not notice this hand, but Lin Wuya did. He stretched out his hand, grabbed the little longer hand, and then pulled it vigorously. Then a figure suddenly flew out of the grass, and then staggered to Lin Wuya's body. It hurts. It hurts. It hurts. the petite figure rolled on the ground several times, yelling pain while rolling. Lin Wuya glanced at the figure, and the next moment, his brows were frowned. He was a child less than 10 years old, looking about the same age as Zoro. Zoro and Kuina, who were eating barbecue, thought someone was attacking, but when they saw that they were just a child like them, they suddenly relaxed their vigilance. "Hey, who are you?" Zoro frowned and asked. "Huh. I won't tell you." The little guy was not afraid, and glanced to one side like a little adult. "I won't tell you, my name is Luffy." Zoro's mouth twitched slightly, "And you said your name yourself." Lin Wuya on the side followed the little guy uttering his name, and a smile suddenly appeared on his face. "Luffy?" He once again forgot to look at the little guy, and then the smile on his face grew thicker. What a kid. Lin Wuya did not expect to encounter Luffy here, and it was still in this situation. Lin Wuya felt that fate was quite wonderful for a while. And through Luffy, Lin Wuya roughly guessed where this place is. It should be the back mountain of Windmill Village, where Luffy lived with Sabo and Ace when he was a child. Can you give me that meat?" Luffy pointed at the roasted wild pork in front of Lin Wuya, drooling. "Do you want to eat?" Lin Wuya asked Luffy. Luffy nodded unceasingly. It was obviously starving to see that. "Then give it to you." Picking up the wild boar, Lin Wuya handed it to Luffy. It can be seen that Luffy is really hungry. A large piece of meat is solved in one bite. Zoro and Kuina are dumbfounded. Anything else? It seemed that a large piece of roasted wild pork could not fill his stomach, so Luffy hit his idea on the piece of meat in Lin Wuya's hands. As for Lin Wuya, seeing Luffy hit his mind unexpectedly, he blew his beard and stared. What a kid. Really a foodie. "I have to eat this piece of meat in my hand. If you want to eat it, get it yourself. There is a big wild boar over there. Roast it yourself." Lin Wuya pointed to the big half of the wild boar lying on the ground beside him and said towards Luffy. Wow. Luffy's eyes reflected light. If he eats such a big wild boar, he won't have to starve tonight. Picking up the knife Lin Wuya used to cut wild boar, Luffy began to shave the wild boar, then sharpened some wooden sticks, and then inserted the shaved wild boar head into it, and then inserted it around the fire. Obviously, don't be too skilled. Does this kid often eat barbecues in the wild? Zoro couldn't help muttering as he looked at Luffy's skillful technique. It looks like it should be. Kuina nodded. After inserting a piece of wild boar, Luffy continued to work until the fire was filled with wild boar. Finish. Looking at his masterpiece, Luffy clapped his hands with pride on his face. On the contrary, Kuina and Zoro were stunned. Looking at the pile of meat beside the fire, Zoro asked Luffy, "You made so much, can you eat it?" "Of course you can eat it." Luffy grinned. "Hey. Luffy, have you found something to eat?" At this time, a voice came from not far away, and two figures rushed out of the grass. The two are not others, they are Ace and Sabo. The reason why Ace and Sabo appeared here was also because Luffy was hungry. As a brother, they were too embarrassed to let Luffy come out to find food by himself, so the two of them came out with Luffy. But the night is darker. Even if Sabo and Ace are relatively strong and good at catching beasts, they have not been caught in a short time, so this is what happened. Ace and Sabo, who walked out of the grass, saw Luffy's shadow at once, but soon they discovered the shadows of other people. These other people are naturally Lin Wuya, Zoro and Kuina. Luffy, who are they? Ace walked to Luffy's side and asked. They came across when I was looking for meat, but they are better, and they give me meat. Luffy's mind is simple. As long as someone feeds meat, he thinks that the other person is a good person, but Lin Wuya, Kuina, and Zoro are indeed good people. Even if they are not good people, they are definitely not bad. Is that so? Ace nodded, then walked to Lin Wuya and said apologetically, I'm sorry. Grandpa, my brother is causing you trouble. Brother is more polite. Lin Wuya waved his hand. It's okay. Anyway, the three of us can't eat this big wild boar. It doesn't matter if we feed him. In addition, if you are hungry, you can also eat together. Really? Ace smiled, and accompanied Luffy along the way to find food. He was really hungry. Lin Wuya smiled slightly, then looked at the golden kid not far away. This meal unexpectedly ran into these three little guys. Although the two little guys did not register themselves, Lin Wuya still recognized them. Ace, Sabo, Luffy's elder brother. Thank you, Grandpa. Ace thanked him, then walked to Luffy and sat down. Sabo did the same. The three little guys sat by the fire. Luffy. You bake too much. Ace looked at the wild boar heads all around the fire, and couldn't help but be surprised. Don't be surprised, Ace, you don't know the appetite of Luffy. In contrast, Sabo is not so surprised. He knows Luffy's appetite. It is amazing. One person can top 10, or even more. Haha. That said, Ace laughed loudly. He forgot about this. This guy Luffy is so appetizing. A scent soon came from the fire, and Luffy knew that the meat was roasted, so he couldn't wait to take the roast off, and he was not afraid that it would be hot and just ate it. Sabo and Ace also started to move, but their speed is far less than Luffy. The two of them ate a piece of barbecue. Luffy has already eaten 10 yuan. Soon, a whole wild boar was eaten by the three brothers. Filling up his stomach, Luffy lay on the ground with satisfaction, touching his bulging belly, while Ace and Sabo were sitting by the fire. By the way, Grandpa, are you also from here? Ace asked Lin Wuya. I'm from another village, Shimotsuki village, have you heard of it? Lin Wuya said kindly. Shimotsuki village? Is it the Shimotsuki village of Koshiro? Ace asked. Yeah, it's the Shimotsuki village. Lin Wuya nodded. Shimotsuki village is a famous village in East Blue. It is rumored that Koshiro is a powerful swordsman, and he only lost one move against Mihawk, the world's largest swordsman, Hawkeye. Grandpa, since you belong to that village, you should also be a very powerful person. Hearing this, Lin Wuya smiled faintly. Forget it. Hey. I knew it. Seeing that he was right, Ace grinned, and then asked Lin Wuya. Then, Grandpa, have you seen the Juggernaut and Shiro? I've seen it. Lin Wuya smiled and nodded. Really? Then what kind of person is he? Isn't he as powerful as the rumors say? Ace asked with a look of interest, as if he was very interested in Koshiro. Well, how should I say? People are not bad, and they are indeed very strong. Lin Wuya groped his chin. It turns out that the rumors are true. Ace said with joy. What? You admire him very much. Lin Wuya joked. Worship is not counted. Ace smiled and said, I just listened to the people in the village talking about the swordsman Koshiro, but I have never seen it, so it is inevitable to be a little curious. Is that so? Lin Wuya nodded suddenly, and then said to Ace, if you have time, you can come to Shimotsuki village. I can take you to meet him. Really? Ace asked excitedly. Lin Wuya nodded. In this way, on the topic of Koshiro, Ace and Lin Wuya have been talking late at night. During the period, Ace kept asking about Koshiro, and Lin Wuya answered seriously. As for Luffy and Sabo, they sat on both sides of Ace with interest and listened to Lin Wuya. Their eyes also flashed with interest, and they were also very interested in Koshiro. Zoro and Kuina. One of them is Koshiro's disciple and the other is Koshiro's daughter, knowing his master, father is very famous, and therefore he is so obsessed with Luffy, Sabo, and Ace that their master, father doesn't he think accident. But Lin Wuya is different. Although he also knows that Koshiro is quite famous, he didn't expect that even children like Luffy, Sabo, Ace would have heard of Koshiro's name, and he was quite obsessed with it. His disciple is really famous. As the night got deeper, Ace glanced at the sky, then stood up and said to Lin Wuya, Grandpa, we have to go back. Lin Wuya smiled and nodded. He knew that Ace, Sabo, and Luffy lived with the bandits in Dayton. If he didn't go back at night, that guy would definitely come out to find them, so he didn't leave them three. By the way, Grandpa, are you planning to live here tonight? Ace asked Lin Wuya. When he asked, Luffy and Sabo also looked at Lin Wuya. They have lived here for a year or two, knowing that it is dangerous to live here at night. Yeah. We are going to live here tonight, Lin Wuya nodded. It's too dangerous to live here. Many wild beasts feed at night. If Grandpa doesn't mind, you can live with me. Although the conditions are not very good, I always stay in the house. It is safer than here. Much. Ace said towards Lin Wuya. Is that good? Lin Wuya smiled. It's okay. Ace smiled and said. Besides, you invited the three of our brothers to eat such meat today. How can we bear to let you live here? After speaking, he looked at Sabo and Luffy. Say yes, Luffy, Sabo. Yes. Sabo and Luffy nodded, and then said to Lin Wuya, Grandpa, you can live with us. Lin Wuya thought for a while, and finally agreed to Ace and the others. Let's do it. Seeing Lin Wuya's agreement, Ace, Sabo, and Luffy's expressions were instantly pleased. Then Grandpa, come with me, it will be here soon. Ace said to Lin Wuya. It is good. Lin Wuya nodded, and then left here with Zoro, Kuina, Ace, Sabo, and Luffy, and headed to their house. The three people's residence is not far from here, it took half an hour to arrive. That's it. Grandpa. Ace pointed to the small wooden houses 30 meters away and turned towards Lin Wuya. Following the trail, Ace brought Lin Wuya and son to the wooden house, but before they approached, a roar rang from the inside, and then an obese old woman walked out. Ace, Sabo, Luffy, where did the three of you go this night? The old woman is burly and has yellow hair. If she doesn't listen to her voice, she thinks she is a big man. But such an old woman, who would have thought that she was the leader of the bandits? That's right, the old woman is exactly Dayton. Luffy is hungry, so the two of us went out with Luffy to find food. Ace smiled, not being scared by Dan's aura at all. They were used to it a long time ago. I brought 3 people back when I was looking for food? Dan glanced at Lin Wuya, Zoro, and Kuina, and said unhappy. Ace introduced. We met this old man in the forest. We shared a lot of meat for us. Considering that living in the forest at night is more dangerous, so I brought them here. Dan, you shouldn't have any comments. Dan snorted coldly. Jing is asking me trouble. After saying this, Dan returned to his room. Although he did not verbally or agree, his attitude was very clear, and he did not object to Lin Wuya and the 3 of them living here. Dan is like this. Don't mind Grandpa. After Dan left, Ace said to Lin Wuya. It's okay. Lin Wuya smiled slightly, then followed Ace and the others in. The room is not very big, about 30 square meters, but it is enough for Lin Wuya, Zoro and Kuina to live in. In the next few days, Lin Wuya also lived in Ace, Sabo, and Luffy. In the morning, he took Zoro and Kuina to hunt some pirates. In the afternoon, he stayed with Luffy, Sabo and Ace in the back mountain. Teach them some physical skills to pass the time. For Luffy, Ace, and Sabo, Lin Wuya also likes it very much. Therefore, Lin Wuya has nothing to do with them, just like a normal grandfather. After Yamanaka, Lin Wuya is standing there at the moment. In front of him, Ace, Luffy, and Sabo are constantly practicing. In terms of learning, Ace and Sabo are more talented, and they can get through in many places, but Luffy is different. This kid is completely stunned, and he hasn't learned well after 2 days of learning. Seeing this, Lin Wuya couldn't help but think about how Rayleigh came over during the 2 years he taught Luffy in the original book. Grandpa. I'm tired, I'll rest for a while and practice later. At this time, Luffy walked over and stretched out and lay directly in front of Lin Wuya. However, as soon as he lay down, Lin Wuya dropped a fist, and Luffy clutched his head in pain and screamed. It hurts. Grandpa, how come your fist is heavier than my grandpa's fist? Lin Wuya smiled and said, if you know it hurts, go and train. If you don't train anymore, you won't be able to beat Ace and Sabo even more. Upon hearing Lin Wuya say this, Luffy stood up immediately. I can definitely beat Ace, Sabo and the others. After that, Luffy trod over and continued training. And looking at the seriously training Luffy, Lin Wuya also shook his head. This kid really couldn't beat him. No wonder Garp beats Luffy a lot. It's not unreasonable. When he walked to the side of the rock and sat down, Lin Wuya began to close his eyes and relax. At this time, at the port of Windmill Village, a warship stopped here. This is a Koto warship, and when it comes to Koto, everyone should guess who it is. Yes, it is Garp. This dog's head warship is also Garp's dedicated private warship. Dressed as a justice officer, Garp got off the boat. Garp appeared here, in addition to visiting his grandson Luffy, and also to investigate Lin Wuya. After Garp entered Windmill Village, a woman walked over. The woman's name was Makino, the proprietress of a bar in Windmill Village. Mr. Garp, come back to see Luffy again. Haha. Yeah. My grandson has to come back often. Garp grinned, and then asked Makino, where is that kid now? This time should be at Dayton's place, Makino said. Okay. I get it. Garp nodded, then walked up the mountain. Coming to Darden's residence, Garp said to Darden, who was lying on a chair basking in the sun. Dayton, it's been a long time. Dan opened his eyes. After seeing Garp's face, he almost fell from his chair in shock. Garp. Why are you so nervous? I came to see Luffy, where is that kid? Seeing Dan's nervous look, Garp suddenly smiled. Seeing Garp came back to see Luffy. Even though Dandang was relieved, he said to Garp, Luffy is on the back mountain. You should be with Ace now. Do you want me to take you there? No need. I'll be there alone. I want to see what Luffy is doing this time. Turning around, Garp went straight to the back hill. Coming to the back mountain, Garp even heard Luffy's voice, but this voice made Garp frown. The sound was not the sound of Luffy laughing, but the sound of shouting pain. As he approached, the scene before him made Garp's brows burst. An old gentleman hit Luffy on the head with his fist. Therefore, after seeing this scene, he directly lifted an iron fist and rushed out. Who dare to beat my grandson? Good guy, that's a guardian. Boom. With this punch, Garp was not polite, and directly blasted Lin Wuya head on. As for Luffy also saw Garp at this time, Ace also noticed, his face change. Old man. Stop it. Ace yelled hurriedly. He knew that the old man must have shot because he saw Luffy being beaten by the old man, but he didn't know that this was just the old man and Luffy having a fight, not really beating Luffy at all. But how could Ace stop the angry Garp with a word? He went straight to Lin Wuya. It's over. Seeing this scene, Ace's heart suddenly sank. He knew the strength of the old man. If the punch fell on the old man would definitely fall to the ground. However, the unexpected scene that Grandpa couldn't afford to be seriously injured did not happen. I saw Garp's iron fist was directly held by a hand. That's Grandpa's hand. Huh. Seeing this scene, Ace heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Grandpa's reaction was fast enough to stop him. But Garp is different. His eyes are full of surprise. Although he didn't use his full force with this punch, it was not something that ordinary people could stop. Even the big pirates who bounty over 100 million in New World couldn't take it. However, the old gentleman caught it all at once, and didn't take a step back. That you misunderstood, I was just playing with Luffy. Lin Wuya said lightly. Playing? Ghosts believe it. Garp snorted coldly, and then dropped another punch. Boom. This punch Garp strengthened, but Lin Wuya still took it easily. Now Garp was even more shocked. What is the origin of this old gentleman? Just when Garp was about to increase his strength again, Ace rushed out. Smelly old man, don't bully Grandpa. Seeing Ace rushing in, Garp didn't continue to shoot, but his eyes were fixed on Lin Wuya. Who is your excellency? He knew about the previous fight, and the old man in front of him who looked like he was 80 or 90 years old was not an ordinary person at all. This person's strength is even stronger than those big pirates who offer a bounty of over 100 million. Lin Wuya smiled faintly. I'm just an ordinary person. Your excellency is not like an ordinary person. Garp narrowed his eyes. Ace looked at Garp's unkind gaze, and suddenly became angry. Smelly old man. What are you doing? Grandpa is not a bad person. Luffy also rushed out and stretched out two little hands to firmly protect Lin Wuya behind him. Grandpa. Don't bully Grandpa. Grandpa is good, not only gives us food, but also teaches us great physical skills. Surgery. When Luffy said this, Garp's face was slightly taken aback, and then he asked Luffy, what you said is true. Of course. Luffy said loudly, Grandpa is fine. Then that fist hit you on the head before. That's because I was lazy, so Grandpa beat me. Now Garp knew he had misunderstood, and then he said to Lin Wuya, I'm sorry, old gentleman, I was rude just now. Garp wasn't an unreasonable person either, his attitude eased as soon as he heard this. It's okay. Grandpa can understand when he sees his grandson being beaten by someone for a while. Lin Wuya smiled faintly. In this way, under the explanation of Ace and Luffy, the misunderstanding was also resolved. Luffy, Ace, and Sabo continued to practice the physical skills Lin Wuya taught them. As for Lin Wuya and Garp, it seemed that they were about the same age, and they started talking. I don't know where the old man's last name comes from. Garp asked with a smile. Although the previous encounters let him know that this old gentleman is not an ordinary person, but after some contact, Garp also saw that this old gentleman is not a bad person, so he put his guard down. The old man's surname is Lin and his name is Endless. Now he lives in Shimotsuki village. This time he came out with his two grandchildren to practice. Lin Wuya said lightly. 2 disciples. Garp looked around, but there were no other people here except Lin Wuya and Ace. The two of them went out to experience. Garp nodded, no wonder he didn't see it. At this moment, Garp suddenly thought of something. His eyes were stunned. The reason for Garp's reaction was that the document submitted from the East Blue Branch to the headquarters last week seemed to say that the dragon pirate was destroyed. The group is an old gentleman, with 2 little dolls by his side. Reminiscent of Lin Wuya and his 2 grandchildren, Garp immediately asked, Old gentleman, recently I heard that the dragon pirate group was destroyed, and the person who destroyed it is as old as the old gentleman. Could it be you, old gentleman? Hearing this, Lin Wuya smiled slightly, and then said, Does this matter even your headquarters know? Although Lin Wuya didn't say it clearly, the answer to Garp was very clear. He destroyed the dragon and pirate group. Garp's face changed slightly, and it was the old gentleman who did it. What? You Marine want to catch me? Lin Wuya asked Garp. No. No. Garp hurriedly waved his hand. It was the East Blue Branch who passed a document saying that the people who destroyed the dragon and pirates were too strong, and the above were not assured, so I took advantage of the time of visiting Luffy to come and investigate. After all, old gentleman, you also know that the world is too chaotic, and the number of pirates is increasing year by year, so if the other party is a pirate, naturally, we Marine have to do some measures too. But since that person is you, old gentleman, then I can rest assured. At this time, Kuina and Zoro, who had gone out to practice, also came back. They glanced at Garp, who was sitting next to Lin Wuya, and asked Lin Wuya. Master 2. Who is he? Although Garp is a marine hero and is well known, children like Kuina and Zoro who have stayed in the village since childhood have never seen Garp. He is Luffy's grandfather, a very famous marine. Lin Wuya introduced. Oh, Kuina and Zoro nodded. Garp looked at Zoro and Kuina a few times, but this look shocked his heart. The two little dolls exude a strong sword intent. Although Garp is not a swordsman, his adjutant Bogart is, so he can also perceive swordsmen. On Kuina and Zoro, Garp perceives the breath that only swordsmen exude. Unbelievably, these two little dolls turned out to be two swordsmen. Lin Wuya saw Garp's expression in his eyes. He chuckled and said, "How about my two disciples?" Excellent. Garp's pertinent evaluation said, "In time, I will become a very powerful swordsman." Then you will honor your promise. Lin Wuya smiled faintly, then looked at Zoro and Kuina. You're tired after training. There is grilled meat over there, let's eat it. It is good. The two nodded, then walked aside and ate the barbecue. Looking at Kuina and Zoro who were eating barbecue, Garp asked, "Old gentleman, are your two grandchildren from Shimotsuki village?" After feeling the powerful sword intent from Kuina and Zoro previously, Garp became curious about Zoro and Kuina. Lin Wuya nodded. No wonder he exudes such a sword intent. Garp was surprised because he knew that Shimotsuki village had a powerful swordsman. The swordsman Koshiro. It is not too surprising that children who grow up in that environment will become swordsmen at such a young age. After all, the reputation of the swordsman Koshiro is very loud. Even if you look at it, it is famous, and it is rumored that Mihawk, the world's largest swordsman, only lost one move. Time slipped away in the chat, and soon it was dusk. Garp stood up and said to Lin Wuya, "It's getting dark. I will go down the mountain first. Tomorrow I will come to the old man to talk about life." It is good. Garp smiled and nodded. After Garp left, Lin Wuya, Zoro and Kuina also returned to Dayton. In the next few days, Garp often came to chat with Lin Wuya, perhaps because the two were similar in age, so the chat is very speculative. And the topic of discussion is also transferred from the two of them to the current world situation. Sir, the government recently proposed a topic called 7 Warlords of the Sea, which means selecting 7 pirates from many pirates, giving them specific rights and not being hunted by marine like other pirates. But the only condition is to stand up when the government needs it. I don't know what old gentleman do you think about this proposal? Do you want me to tell the truth or lie? Lin Wuya said meaningfully. Of course it's the truth. The truth is that this proposal may benefit the government, but it is tantamount to catastrophe for civilians. Lin Wuya said. Why do you say that, old gentleman? Garp was puzzled. The pirates like to pillage originally, but when the government gives them privileges, what will they do? They will only get worse. And to be selected as the pirates of 7 Warlords of the Sea, the strength should be very strong. At least they are the pirates who are offering a reward for the start of the tens of millions of Baileys. Do you think such great pirates will have no ambition? Perhaps there are some very individual pirates who are more orthodox school, but how many more such pirates? You grant privileges to the pirates, which is tantamount to pushing those civilians into the fire pit. Even if Lin Wuya has never seen pirates, he knows how granting privileges to pirates will affect the world. Perhaps these pirates will behave well and follow the government's intentions, but they do it secretly. Who knows the business? And these activities ultimately suffer only from ordinary people. Garp had a cold sweat on his back when Lin Wuya said. Regarding the issue of 7 Warlords of the Sea, Garp himself had thought about it, but he was thinking about the impact on the world government and pirates. He didn't think about ordinary civilians. Now that Lin Wuya said, Garp knows the seriousness of the matter. Indeed. The establishment of 7 warlords of the sea may benefit the government and limit the situation of pirates, but ordinary civilians will undoubtedly suffer. After all, can you count on the pirate if you grant him privileges? It's out of the question. On the contrary, it will naturally breed its more arrogant arrogance. Thinking of this, Garp immediately looked at Lin Wuya. Old gentleman, I have been taught. Then what do you plan to do when you go back? Lin Wuya asked. I will oppose the government's proposal. Garp spoke out his thoughts. No? You are too naive, Garp. Lin Wuya laughed. Why does the old gentleman say that I am naive? Garp frowned, puzzled. Lin Wuya said, you just said that this proposal was initiated by the world government. Do you think you can defeat the government's decision with your own strength? Garp was stunned. It seems impossible. Then old man, what do you think I should do? Garp asked Lin Wuya. Lin Wuya said, since the government's decision cannot be vetoed, then if you want ordinary civilians not to be affected, all you have to do is to make a fuss on the list of 7 warlords of the sea. Choose those pirates that you think are more decent to do 7 warlords of the sea, so that's not enough. Can this work? Garp asked. Lin Wuya smiled and said, how can't it work? The purpose of setting up the 7 warlords of the sea is to let the 7 pirates use it for their own use, and to divide the power of the pirates. The government doesn't care whether it is righteous or evil. They only care about the strength of these 7 pirates, so as long as the 7 pirates you recommend are strong enough, the government won't say anything. Besides, the government also cares about people's hearts. If you tell the potential harm of those evil pirates, I think the government will not only oppose it, but will strongly support it. Lin Wuya's words made Garp abruptly. He turned to Lin Wuya and said with excitement, I understand, old gentleman. It seems that on the Shichibukai issue, Lin Wuya gave Garp a good suggestion. In the next few days, Garp has been looking for Lin Wuya more frequently. As long as he has time, he will ask Lin Wuya for some internal marine issues. It's like a scholar is asking a teacher. Regarding the questions Garp asked for, Lin Wuya can always point out the problem sharply and give Garp good advice. Just like that, it was the past week. On the coast of Windmill Village, Lin Wuya is standing there, Zoro and Kuina are standing beside him. Old gentleman, are you going back now? Garp looked at Lin Wuya with a trace of perseverance in his eyes. Lin Wuya put his hands behind him, and said faintly, it's been a while since I came out this time, and it's time to go back. Is that so? Garp frowned slightly. To be honest, he still had a lot of questions to ask Lin Wuya, but he didn't expect to leave so soon. Grandpa, when will you come next time? Luffy asked Lin Wuya. I will come often if I have time. Lin Wuya smiled at Luffy. That's a deal. Luffy laughed. Well, it's a deal. Lin Wuya nodded, then said toward Zoro and Kuina, get on the boat. Zoro and Kuina nodded, and then followed Lin Wuya aboard the boat. Starting the boat, Lin Wuya was about to leave here, but the next moment, his brows frowned, because he found that the boat could not start. Old gentleman. What's the matter? Garp noticed something strange and asked immediately. There seems to be something wrong with the boat. I'll take a look. Garp boarded the ship, came to the rudder and tried to start, but the ship did not move at all. Immediately afterwards, Garp went to take a look in the cabin, and it was intact. The internal facilities are all intact, it can only be the sails. Garp jumped to the mast and checked. Sure enough, it was a problem with the sails, the canvas was aging, cracks appeared, and the wind could not drive it. Jumping off the mast, Garp patted his hands and said to Lin Wuya, I found the problem. It's because the sails are aging and there are many cracks. Can this thing be repaired? Lin Wuya asked. Repairing may be very troublesome, because many of the sails are aging and can only be replaced, but if they do, is there a boat builder in Fengshe village? Garp said. Is that so? Lin Wuya frowned. If it is not repaired well, it would be really troublesome. After all, there is only one type of marine transportation in the world. If the old gentleman doesn't mind, I can take you back in my boat. Garp said to Lin Wuya. I won't trouble you with this. I'll let my disciple pick it up. That's fine too. Garp nodded. Taking out the phone worm, Lin Wuya pressed it a few times. After a while, Koshiro's voice rang from the phone worm. Teacher. Did something happen? That's it. My ship broke down and cannot sail anymore. Come and pick us up. Lin Wuya wormed to the phone. Okay. Koshiro nodded, and then asked, Teacher, where are you now? Here in Windmill Village. Okay. I'll pass now. How long will it take? It should be there tomorrow. Got it. Hanging up the phone worm, Lin Wuya said towards Garp. My disciple will arrive tomorrow, I'm afraid I will have to live here again tonight. Haha. It's okay. Old gentleman, you can live as long as you want. Garp is anxious that Lin Wuya will not leave, so why would he care that Lin Wuya is staying here tonight? Taking Zoro, Kuina, and Lin Wuya back to the back mountain of Fengche village. By the way, old gentleman, your disciple should also be a very good person, right? Earlier in the port, I heard Lin Wuya talk about his disciples, because Garp was also curious. In his opinion, even the two disciples are so good, even more powerful than the disciples. Haha. So normal. Lin Wuya laughed. Old gentleman, you are humble again. Garp laughed. The night is getting deeper, and when the new sun rises, a new day begins again. At 9 o'clock in the morning, the phone worm in Lin Wuya's arms who was eating breakfast suddenly rang. After pressing the answer button, Koshiro's voice rang from the phone worm. Teacher. The disciple is here. Okay. Let's pass as a teacher. Hanging up the phone worm, Lin Wuya said to Garp who was also eating breakfast, my disciple is here. Then I will accompany you to the old man, it is good. Lin Wuya nodded, and then led Zoro, Kuina, and Garp towards the port. Luffy, Ace, and Sabo also followed. When he arrived at the port, Lin Wuya saw Koshiro's figure, and he was standing in the port waiting. As for Koshiro, he also noticed Lin Wuya, ran over immediately, and then bent down towards Lin Wuya, teacher. Coming. Lin Wuya smiled. Koshiro nodded. Because the journey is relatively long, it took some time. I hope you won't be offended by the teacher. It's okay. Lin Wuya said casually. Garp on the side looked at the man with strong sword intent in front of him, and his whole body was shocked. This is Koshiro, the swordmaster. In contrast, what shocked him even more was Koshiro's address to the old gentleman. Teacher. The disciple of this old gentleman turned out to be Koshiro, the sword saint. In fact, for this disciple of Lin Wuya, Garp also thought that he would be some powerful character, but he never thought it turned out to be Koshiro, the most famous swordsman. Grandpa. What's wrong with you? Luffy looked at that Garp looked a little wrong, and asked immediately. Luffy. Do you know who this is? Garp said. Who is it? Luffy asked suspiciously. When Garp said so, Ace and Sabo were also curious. He is Koshiro, the master of the Ishin Dojo in East Blue Shimotsuki village. As soon as these words came out, Luffy, Sabo, and Ace's shocked mouths couldn't close together. He is the sword master Koshiro. No. Isn't it? Grandpa's disciple turned out to be such a big man. In the hearts of Ace, Sabo, and Luffy, Koshiro is regarded as a legendary character, and they also wanted to meet the swordmaster and see the style. What they didn't expect was that such a legendary figure was actually a disciple of the grandfather. Originally, Lin Wuya's image in the hearts of Ace, Luffy, and Sabo was very high. Now that it is known that the swordmaster Koshiro is Lin Wuya's disciple, that image has directly reached the clouds. Looking at Lin Wuya with the eyes of the three of them is called an admiration. At this time, Koshiro also noticed Garp. He stepped forward and said, is this the marine hero Garp Vice Admiral? Garp was taken aback for a moment, and finally admitted his identity. Sure enough, I have been admiring the name for a long time. Swordmaster Koshiro bowed to Garp, completely devoid of the arrogance of a swordmaster. You're welcome. You're welcome. Garp was a little overwhelmed by Koshiro's courtesy. Zoro and Kuina looked at their father, teacher's name for Garp, and their eyes were also mixed with surprise. Luffy's grandfather turned out to be the marine hero Garp. For Garp, Zoro and Kuina have also heard about him. He is a very famous soldier. He is also praised as a marine hero by the world. His reputation is even better than that of Marine Marshal Sengoku. What they didn't expect was that such a legendary figure turned out to be Luffy's grandfather. Koshiro, we have to go. At this time, Lin Wuya's voice sounded from behind Koshiro, and Koshiro turned around. Yes. Teacher. They boarded the boat with Lin Wuya, Kuina, and Zoro, and the next few people gradually drifted away in the eyes of Garp, Ace, Luffy, and Sabo. Ace. Do you feel like dreaming now? Sabo stared at the boat shadow that was going away, and said lightly. It feels like dreaming. Ace nodded. Until now, they have not yet eased up. The sword saint Koshiro turned out to be the grandfather's disciple. How sacred is this old grandfather? Even someone as powerful as sword saint Koshiro is his disciple, Sabo said. Ace said, should be a world-famous person. After all, he can teach someone as good as the swordmaster Koshiro, and the strength of the grandfather must be even more terrifying than the swordmaster Koshiro. I don't know if it's a world-class expert. Anyway, I know that the grandfather is very good, and I even give it to me. Luffy grinned. The corners of Sabo and Ace's mouth twitched. Eat. Eat. Just know to eat. Above sea level. The ship sailed slowly, and another ship was tied to a strong chain behind him. Because of the pulling of a ship, the speed of travel was much slower. However, the distance between Shimotsuki village and Windmill village is not too far. It is only 100 nautical miles away. Even if the traveling speed is slow, it only took 2 days to arrive. Back. After getting off the boat, Zoro and Kuina took a deep breath. It's better to be home. At this moment, Buggy also ran over, and saw Lin Wuya disembarking from the boat and said, "Teacher, you are back. You kid. Haven't been lazy during this time?" Lin Wuya looked at Buggy weirdly. "No. I have been working hard during this period of time. If you don't believe me, you can ask Koshiro. Just don't be lazy." With a cold snort, Lin Wuya immediately ignored Buggy and followed the path back to Ishin Dojo. When Lin Wuya arrived at Ishin Dojo, Garp also returned to the headquarters. Upon returning to the headquarters, Garp went straight to the Sengoku meeting room and gathered the marine executives together in his own name. "Garp. What's the matter? Why did you call us as soon as I got back?" Sengoku, Tsuru, and the current 3 Admiral Sakazuki, Kuzan, and Paluzolino looked at Garp with puzzled faces. It's the first time to see Garp so exciting. Garp went straight to the subject. "It's about 7 warlords of the sea. I think we need to discuss it again." "Why do we need to discuss it again? Haven't we discussed it before? And Garp, you also support it?" Sengoku was puzzled. "I agreed with the proposal of 7 warlords of the sea before, but now I feel that this matter is a bit improper. Think about it. Pirates originally liked looting. What would they do after the government gave them privileges? It will only get worse. And can be selected as the pirates of 7 warlords of the sea. The strength should be very strong. At least they are the pirates who are offering a reward for the start of tens of millions of Baileys. Do you think such big pirates will have no ambitions? Perhaps there are some very individual pirates who are more orthodox school, but how many more such pirates? You grant privileges to the pirates, which is tantamount to pushing those civilians into the fire pit." This was what Lin Wuya said to Garp at the beginning, and now Garp tells it to Sengoku, Tsuru, Sakazuki and others intact. This. Sengoku frowned. He hadn't thought about this problem. On the contrary, Sakazuki's attitude is the same as before. "I don't think there is anything wrong with it. If you want to protect justice, you must make choices. It's right to guard justice. But if this kind of justice requires the sacrifice of ordinary people, it can still be regarded as justice." Garp glared at Sakazuki, saying every word. In high-level meetings on weekdays, Garp maintains a neutral attitude, but this time Garp is righteous and resolutely refuses. Just as Sakazuki has Sakazuki's justice, Garp also has Garp's justice. Once he touches his principles, Garp will do his part. "Garp. Calm down." It wasn't until Sengoku spoke up that Garp's anger subsided a bit. Sengoku sat there and said towards Garp, "Garp. I understand your feelings and your justice, but this matter is proposed by the government, and the participating countries have also voted for it. Even if they oppose it, it will not work." "I know this." Garp nodded and said, "My purpose is not to ask you to join me in opposing the establishment of the 7 warlords of the sea system. It is to strictly screen Shichibukai's list. Choose someone who is stronger, but is not a brutal pirate who is the 7 warlords of the sea." "I'm afraid this is a bit difficult, Garp." Sengoku frowned and said, "You also know the style of pirates, and you said before that there are very few more decent pirates. It is very difficult to choose 7 pirates who are inexhaustible and evil. So we have to spend time. With so many pirates on the Grand Line, I think if we take the time to screen, we can still choose 7. Garp said. "Okay, then I'll give it a try." Stubborn but Garp, Sengoku can only follow Garp's ideas. And he also thinks that Garp is right. It is better to choose a few pirates who are not so vicious than to choose those pirates. After all, Marine's duty is to remove the pirates and protect ordinary people. If the selected pirates caused trouble to ordinary people, it would undoubtedly go against the justice they blessed. After making a decision, Sengoku was the one who ordered the Marine database to retrieve a copy of the pirates' information. Of course, they were all the pirates who offered a reward of 10 million Baileys to start. As for the reward of only a few million Baileys, Sengoku simply ignored them. So, a screening about 7 warlords of the sea began. After 3 days of screening, 4 pirates were successfully selected, namely, the pirate Empress Boa Hancock, the world's largest swordsman Hawkeye Mihawk, Kun Bartholomew Kuma, and the seaman Jinbei. Among them, the pirate Empress is the king of Daughter Island, the sweet fruit-capable person, and the captain of the 9 Snakes Pirates. The data shows that there are no vicious activities, except for robbing the heavens. The world's largest swordsman, Hawkeye, Mihawk, is as powerful as Admiral. Although he is a pirate, he has not done anything that hurts the world. He likes to go his own way. And Bao Kun Bartholomew Kuma is a new pirate in recent years. It also does not have its own pirate group. It has the same personality as Hawkeye, but also has its own style. The information shows that there are few illegal activities. At least they collected from Marine. There is very little or none in the data. The last seaman, Jinbei, is the captain of the Murloc pirate group. He has stayed in the Fishmen Island for many years. Although he is rumored to have a violent personality, he was also included by Sengoku because he did not cause substantial harm to the people. List. After selecting the 4, Sengoku passed the information of the 4 to Garp. Garp. These are the 4 people who think they can serve as 7 warlords of the sea. You can see what's wrong. Sengoku and Garp are old partners, and Garp is very concerned about the candidates for 7 warlords of the sea, so Sengoku also asked Garp's opinion after selecting these 4 people. Taking the information of the 4 people from Sengoku, Garp glanced at it, and after a while, he returned it to Sengoku. These 4 can. When I saw Garp and said yes, Sengoku said, then I will choose the remaining 3. After speaking, Sengoku continued to get busy. 3 days have passed since then. In these 3 days, Sengoku also selected some suitable pirates, but they were all denied by Garp. In this regard, Sengoku had no choice but to continue to choose. A week later, Sengoku screened all the pirate data and finally selected a dozen pirates that he thought were good. Garp. These are the candidates that I think are qualified for 7 warlords of the sea. Take a look. If you are not satisfied with these, then I have to vote for the other 3 Shichibukai candidates. Sengoku handed Garp the information of the dozen or so pirates. Garp took the information and glanced at it one by one. After such a moment, he just said to Sengoku, let's do it. I'll give you an answer in a week. Why in a week? Sengoku was puzzled. No reason. Anyway, I will give you an answer in a week. After Garp said this, he left the Sengoku meeting room with the information about the dozen or so pirates, and boarded the warship and left the headquarters. What is Garp going to go for? Seeing Garp who left the headquarters, Sengoku is even more puzzled. Is it that Garp is going to visit these pirates himself? Naturally, Garp left the headquarters not to meet these pirates, but to Lin Wuya's. In the exchanges with Lin Wuya a few days ago, Lin Wuya gave Garp very good advice on many issues, so he would like to hear Lin Wuya's views on the remaining 3 7 warlords of the sea candidates. Maybe Lin Wuya can give him a good suggestion.